Ah, Leisure Suit Larry. I knew him, Horatio. Those classic point-and-clicks weren't only one of my earliest introductions to PC gaming, they were the first time in my life that I fully realized that games could be made for and enjoyed by adults. Specifically, in my case, my friend's dad, who would go on long golf trips on Saturdays, leaving us behind to make our way through lost wages in search of fun and sexy, heavily pixelated women. Of course, we had to pass a series of adult-themed trivia questions first to prove that we were adults, which, of course, we were not. It was an early form of parental protection, and just like today's versions of parental protection, it wasn't very effective. The first sign that Leisure Suit Larry Wet Dreams Don't Dry is interested in paying homage to those original Sierra adventures is the fact that you have to go through that very same style of test in order to play. It's a great way for the game to introduce itself, and led to the best Larry game I've played since, well, 1996, not to put too fine a point on it. Developed by CrazyBunch and released in November of this year, Leisure Suit Larry Wet Dreams Don't Dry is sort of a reboot and sort of a long overdue sequel. The most recent two Larry games have been concerned with his nephew, and to be completely honest, the less said about those the better. But this one opens with Larry, leisure suit in tow, awakening in the modern age after presumably suffering some sort of Rip Van Winkle-style sleep that has lasted for decades. His mind is still in both the 80s and the gutter, and after learning about smartphones, social media, and thinly veiled Apple allegories, his quest to get the woman of his dreams begins. Like the great classic adventures of old, you spend the game collecting various seemingly random items, using them in sometimes logical, sometimes completely outlandish ways, and advancing the plot through a series of bizarre Instagram posts. Oh, sorry, I meant Instacrap. Yeah, when it comes to creating parodies of current trends and technology, Wet Dreams goes about it in a way so obvious that the creators of South Park look subtle by comparison.
Or don't you use Instacrap? I mean, you are more the farce book conspiracy theory generation, aren't you? And what's your score on Timber? I mean, you're about I don't know, maybe 50 years too old, but I heard that there are a few seniors using it. But they're more the whole far shit or elite farter kind of thing.
But that honestly doesn't bother me because that's on brand as far as Larry's concerned. Because the dirty little secret about Leisure Suit Larry for anyone who's never played the originals is that these games aren't really all that dirty. Because it was a game about getting laid, people tend to assume that it's a lot raunchier than it is, when in fact its humor is more like hearing a dirty joke being told by your uncle. You're almost more exasperated than anything else. And Wet Dreams does a great job of mimicking that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some genuinely laugh-out-loud funny moments in this game, but it tends to stick to terrible dad jokes, and I mean that as a selling point. However, because it's a comedy game and it spends so much time lampooning the modern age, I honestly expected that the game would eventually take it a little too far, choosing stupid moments to be edgy for edginess' sake, but the game kept surprising me. I mean, there are jokes that feel so dated you want to cut them in half and count the rings. Drag queens have penises, ha ha ha. Straight dudes are scared of anal sex, ha ha ha. Honestly, Larry worries about his butthole so often that I almost expect to have a subplot where he comes out as a closeted bisexual or something. Which, yeah, I'd actually love that. But despite all of this, none of the jokes ever feel malicious or anything like that. They're just silly. Hell, there's a quest line where he helped two men get married, and it's hands down adorable. If I sound like I'm focusing on the humor a lot, that's because humor has always been Larry's main selling point. But the gameplay's terrific too. As I've said before, these point-and-clicks can be incredibly frustrating at times, but there's enough to do in Wet Dreams that you'll likely go through long stretches of collecting things and interacting with people before you hit these moments of being stuck and not sure what to do next. Oh, and when you do hit those moments of feast and famine within a modern adventure game, congratulations! You now officially know what gaming in 1986 was like. There really is a fair amount of content in this game, especially for an adventure game. If I sound surprised by that, it's only because adventure games, based on their nature of finding things and searching, they can get away with being a little shorter. But this new Leisure Suit Larry is surprisingly lengthy.
That's what she said!
Overall, I really enjoyed Wet Dreams Don't Dry in and of itself. It's funny, it's a solid adventure game, and the world and character designs were cartoony and interesting. But as a Leisure Suit Larry game, it functioned as a 6 to 8 hour sigh of relief for me. I cannot overemphasize how lousy the last two Larry games have been, and to see Al Lowe's pervert creation given another chance at life just tickles the 80s funny bone in me. If you like bad jokes, fun adventure, and white polyester, I highly recommend this one.
If Daddy don't sink a little drinky, Daddy gets sad and blue. Sneak a little drinky, sneakity-doo. Sneak a little drinky past you. Sneak a little drinky, sneakity-doo. Sneak a little drinky past you.